I was walking through Leicester Square just prior to Christmas and I saw somebody who does this amazing job that Heidi does, and it was all kicking off, and I went over and I said, "This is awful," and he said, "It's just a day in my life," and as I walked away he said, "I love your show, mate." And I thought of that, I thought, what can I possibly do? And then one of my team looked at the figures. You're absolutely right. It equates to 70,000 a year staff in the NHS just doing their job. People like Heidi, whose story you're going to hear in a minute, they don't all get the level of abuse, but they get some. One doctor who's been on my show, he's been a doctor for 7 years, he's been assaulted 3 times, once he's had a gun brandished in his face. All I am saying is this: please show that you care about those who care for us. In Scotland, it would be treated as if you were assaulting a police officer. In England, Wales and Northern Ireland, for some reason we've missed out on that. I want them afforded the same protection as they should rightly have in Scotland.
The problem is that, and we're just looking at our figures now, that in Scotland there have been over 60,000 attacks on paramedics, medical people. And so, although the law is different there, it doesn't really seem to have made very much of a difference, sadly.
Well, as I said, it's not going to stop the attacks, but it will show that we treat them at the same level as a police officer. All I can say in the Scottish case is it is a hideous number, but there was a decline...
60,000 in 5 years.
Over the 5-year period, yeah. There was a decline after it came in. So, listen, 6 is too many.
Bit of a difference.
Yeah, and so it brought it down. It's still... Right, you're absolutely right. But if I can... Or, sorry, if we can bring it down, if you can sign the petition, and if you'll allow me, I'll tell you where to find the petition, if you'll allow me to do that later. If you sign that petition, when we get to 100,000, it goes to the House of Commons. Can you honestly, Holly or Phillip, see an MP voting against protecting these people?
I can't understand why you wouldn't. You've had incredible support so far.
Yeah.
Just tell us about the petition so that we've got that now.
100,000 signatures, please.
Yeah.
It's been going literally a week. 40,000 already. You go to LBC, Leading Britain's Conversation, lbc.co.uk, or my Twitter, @NickFerrariLBC, and please add your signature.
Okay.
Thank you very much for that.
Now, Heidi, so you've worked in the ambulance service for 9 years. You've been a fully qualified paramedic for the last 3 years, and you say weekly you are facing abuse, under attack weekly, and for a long time you just thought this was part of your job.
Yes, so we commonly come across people, whether it's verbal, physical, sexual, we come across this abuse so often, and it's something that sadly isn't going away.
And so in what way? How and when? Is it the weekends? Is it people that are drunk?
No, it used to be just the weekends, and you could preempt the kind of clientele that we'd end up treating, that we could predict this. But with this gentleman that happened to me, he was a 75-year-old gentleman who wasn't a frail old man. He was very much a retired professional. He was very articulate, very well educated. He was a very ostentatious man, and he understood my demands to stop, but he just didn't. And so we can't predict anymore who it's going to be because this just happens so regularly.
And was this in the ambulance that he was
This is in the ambulance.
And I'm not going to ask you the details because we've read the details and they're really very serious.
Appalling.
They are horrific what he was attempting to do to you. But for you, that did have a profound effect.
Yeah, massive effect. Like I say, you just kind of get used to it, and you'll take a boob grope and you'll take a slap and things like that, and you just kind of like, well, that's just the people that we deal with.
You're even saying that is so wrong.
Excuse me, there's no other job in the country where a girl would say that and say, oh, you take a... I mean, the person would be fired or go to... I mean, it's absurd, guys. It's wrong.
Even with the severity of the case that happened to you, and it went a lot further than those 2 things that you've just said, you, even to begin with, had to be talked into reporting it.
Yeah, so I was initially quite... hesitant with it because I wasn't sure whether I should have just put up with it, because that is just something that we deal with, and then after a week of thinking about it, I was like, what actually happened was horrific. And one of my managers said, if somebody said that to you, what would you tell them to do? And I was like, well, I'd tell them to go to the police. And he's like, so do it, why are you not doing it?
And that's
so you
what you did.
Yeah.
And what was his punishment?
He got a 12-month conditional discharge, and he had to pay me £300 compensation. So he never went to prison, and he never got put on the sex offenders list.
And also, to begin with, you should point out that he please said that he was not guilty for quite a long time, until at the last minute. So he put you
changed
through...
his statement a few times, and then he put, like the day of the courts, I was driving to the court with one of my managers, and we got a phone call saying, you haven't got to come in, he's changed his plea at the last minute.
Imagine doing that to a female police. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no.
Imagine if that man had done that to a female police officer. You could have looked at up to 9 months in jail. Yeah. And that's what I'm trying to bring.
I just don't understand the disparity. I can't quite understand why.
I mean, credit to Scotland. Well done. They've got it. We just need to play catch-up. That's all we need to do.
And so What has seen the rise then? Why are we doing this? So the people who have trained and who are there when you are lying in the pavement or whatever, and you hear those sirens, you think, oh my God, they've come to help me, they've come. Why are we doing this to them?
Well, one of the key things is, unfortunately, due to budget cuts, a lot of people who need emotional health care are actually out on the streets, so that when they come across people like Heidi and others, in days of yore, they would have actually been in special institutions or in homes or have carers around them. Now they're effectively living on their own, and these are, I won't say dangerous people, but they have poor levels of behaviour, and that's why they're sort of.
And the problem is that the more this happens, the more we're going to lose brilliant people from this kind of job. I mean, you yourself, it used to be a job that you would freely say you loved your job, and since this attack, that has definitely changed.
Yes, I don't come to work anymore with the enthusiasm that I used to, because you're always extra cautious of what might happen. And in some ways, he's done me a small favour, because now, where I used to not really have much concerns, now I've become extra cautious whenever I assess patients. So in that way, it's made me more aware of my surroundings in a way that I just assumed I never had to be.
If you enjoyed that, there's more of the same right here. And make sure you subscribe so that you never miss the best moments from this morning.